So for this video, I want to talk about this Diddy situation. I'm sure by now most of you have seen the video of Diddy abusing Cassie. In the video, Diddy is running down the hallway with a towel around his waist. He sees Cassie at the hotel elevator, and he proceeds to grab her from behind and throws her to the ground, and he kicks her at least two times, and then later in the footage you see him throwing an object at her. And this incident happened in Los Angeles, California in 2016. And as you all know, last year Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy accusing him of this particular incident and several other incidents of not only brutality, but also sexual abuse and sexual trafficking and forced drug use and all this other stuff. And right after she filed that lawsuit was promptly settled. And so now we had this video that basically confirms some of the very serious allegations in her complaint. And we know that shortly after she filed her lawsuit, there have been several other lawsuits against Diddy accusing him of various types of misconduct. And, the first question that came to mind when I heard about this particular situation and I saw the date of the incident was whether or not it's barred by the statute of limitations. And I did some quick research, and apparently there's a 3-year statute of limitations for aggravated assault in California, and there's a 1-year statute of limitation for simple assault. And there are some exceptions to the statute of limitations. But right now, according to some of the articles that I read and just based on the information about the statute of limitations, it is probably unlikely, unfortunately, that any criminal charges will be filed against him based on that particular incident. But there is a possibility perhaps that someone will be able to argue that, one of the exceptions apply, but that's unlikely. So unfortunately, we have a situation where he will not be held accountable for these actions if, what people are saying in these articles is true in terms of, the different legal options. But just based on a quick research that I did, it appears that it's probably unlikely that criminal charges will be filed against him based on this incident. And that's a damn shame, man. It's a damn shame that no action was taken against him. And we know that people who are victims of violence, particularly domestic violence, are often not inclined to press charges. And it's just really tragic that this has happened. And we know that there have been other reports of him engaging in similar activity with other women. And it's just a shame that this would happen. All people need to be held accountable for their actions, regardless of their wealth, regardless of their fame, regardless of their race. And one of the real disturbing things about incidents like this is that you have so many people that make excuses for these black male celebrities who engage in this kind of conduct. We had people making excuses for Chris Brown when he allegedly beat Rihanna. When he beat Rihanna, people made excuses for him. Said she must have did X, Y, and Z to justify what he did. And people have been saying that even to this day, defending him. We saw what happened with R. Kelly, abusing all those young girls and everything, and people kept making excuses for him, excuse after excuse until he was finally convicted. We saw what happened with Bill Cosby. Not everybody, a lot of people made excuses for him, and basically made it seem like there was some kind of conspiracy against him because he's black and all that kind of stuff. And it just shows how little we regard women, particularly black women and women of color. How quick people are to defend these abusers in the name of racial solidarity. And I hope that doesn't happen here. And people questioned, her claims. Some people thought she was just out for money. And for me, it was a red flag. There were a couple of red flags with her lawsuit that made it clear that it's likely that these things actually happened. Number one, like just the specificity of her complaint. It went into great detail about these various allegations against him. The other thing is how promptly this man settled the case. Like it had only been a day or so, and this man quickly settled the case. And that doesn't alone prove guilt, but it doesn't look good. Not at all. It doesn't look good at all for somebody to settle the case so quickly. And now we see why with this video. And there are a couple of things that come up with this video. It's like, according to like some of these reports, Diddy allegedly paid like $50,000 to suppress this video to prevent this video from being released to the public. And, I think that whoever held that video, it's just despicable that would happen. From what I understand, this hotel is under new management, currently has new management that has nothing to do with what happened back then. But it's just despicable that something like that would happen, that somebody would take hush money to cover up this tape. Yeah, and I don't know if like the hotel had a legal obligation, but we know just from a decency perspective, they had some kind of moral obligation to report this incident, to make this known. But they failed in that responsibility. And it's just despicable, man. And going back to like this general misogyny that we see in our community where people defend these abusers, in the case of Ray Rice, and hopefully I'm not messing up his name, but a football player in Baltimore, with the Baltimore Ravens, was captured on video beating his woman, and people made excuses for him. It's like, how much more evidence do people need before they finally realize that something wrong has happened? Like, how much more evidence do people need to see before they stand up against domestic violence? And it's just like, for these people, I just wonder, do you have mothers? Do you have daughters? Do you have sisters? And would you react in the same kind of way if that happened to one of them? Stop making excuses for these abusers. And it's time to hold them accountable, all of them, including Diddy. And as we know, there are multiple lawsuits pending against him. Even though he settled the lawsuit with Cassie, there are several other lawsuits against him. And we'll see what happens with those. And there will probably be more actions against him after this video has been exposed. So tell me what y'all think about this situation. Peace and blessings.